All right. Welcome to episode 2 of this unnamed podcast. I am Josh, and that is the guy up on there is on the left, I believe, on the screen is Brian, and then the bottom is Matt. All right. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Not
Good,
too
man. Good.
bad.
Good. This is, if you are just tuning in for the first time, this is a podcast where we're going to talk about mostly nerdy type stuff, or at least pop culture, all different kinds of stuff like that, whether it be pop culture references. I talk about comic books. Brian talks about more of the, I guess, conspiracy theory ish stuff.
Fringe.
Fringe, there you go, fringe science stuff. And then, oh, well, here, I guess we'll just, you guys can talk about what you're going to talk about. I'm mostly going to talk about comics. And then Brian will be next. What you going to talk about exactly, Brian?
I'm going to be talking about the Enuma Elish. It's basically the oldest story that has ever been discovered that was written down.
Nice. And then Matt's going to wrap it up.
So today I'm going to talk mainly about Star Wars, but I'm also going to talk about a new series called Raised by Wolves.
Oh, shoot. Oh, that's on HBO, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I've seen something for that.
It
All
is
right. So,
epically crazy.
dude, we'll get into that. All right.
Yeah.
I'll start it off. And it's funny because in the first episode that I mentioned, I actually want to go back because if we air that first episode, I do want to mention one thing. Um, I mentioned Something is Killing the Children, which is one of my favorite series, and I explained it as an Image comic, and that is entirely wrong. It's from Boom Studios. I don't know how I got that wrong, but just hiccuped and mentioned it as an Image comic instead of Boom Studios. So it's a Boom Studios comic. I also mentioned that normally I talk about DC and Image and stuff like that, and I don't do much Marvel. But this week I am actually going with a Marvel comic that I'm going to be talking about. So J.J. Abrams and his son Henry Abrams actually wrote a Spider-Man series. It's only 5 issues long, but this is issue 1. This is my tablet, so it's a little bit glary, but issue 1 actually came out in like September, I believe, of last year. They're supposed to come out monthly. Issue 1 came out in September, issue 2 in October, issue 3 in November, and then issue 4 got delayed. It got pushed all the way to February, then it got pushed to April, and then thanks to COVID, it got pushed all the way up until last month. So it took them over a year to get out 5 issues. This series, though, is crazy. I'm going to spoil a little bit of the first issue, not the whole series, but just the first issue. Within the first couple pages, so we start off with kind of a destroyed city. Peter Parker is fighting this villain. The villain's name is Cadaverous. Never really heard of him before until now. This is a picture of him. Never really heard of him until now, but he's got these all kinds of minions and stuff that are destroying the city. Spider-Man's fighting him. He is beat the hell up. He is. By the time we jump into this opening fight scene, one of his arms is completely just broken, completely destroyed. Um, and Mary Jane's trying to find him and help dig him out of this rubble. So she comes and gets him. She digs him out of the rubble. And then Cadaverous, which again I don't know if you can see it too well. That's him. There you go. That's him. Um, he ends up getting Mary Jane just
Damn.
right out the gate, and they straight up like she dies. Um, they have a funeral for her and everything, and then they flash forward to 12 years later, and we focus on Peter and Mary Jane's son Ben Parker. Of course, he named him after Uncle Ben, of course. But he's having all kinds of trouble in school. He's being like a snobby little shit. He's the kid who takes on takes on the bullies to help save the little innocent nerds. Um, so he gets in trouble, and then Peter shows up, and now we see that Peter has not been there for the past 12 years. He left and he just kind of left his son with Aunt May. Uh, and then he, what's funny is I didn't start my timer. And then he also that one arm that was messed up is actually gone now. He's got like a hook for a hand. He's hung up the cow or the suit. He stopped being Spider-Man. He quit everything. So Ben doesn't know anything about who he is, who he was. So then suddenly Ben wakes up one day, and of course he's got um, his spider abilities coming in. He wakes up on the ceiling one day, has no idea what the hell's going on. So Aunt May decides to show him something. All right, so that's just the first issue. Now the last issue, issue 5, is the one that came out this past week. The way it ends is beautiful. It's great. In 5 issues, they managed to just tackle this story. Like it is it's a good story. It's a solid story. Like you get to see certain stuff. Like I don't know if I can bring this up, but like you get to see the future of one of the things is like all of the Avengers are dead except for Tony Stark. Um, and Tony is this like long-haired man bun hippie looking guy. Um, and but he's like, and then obviously he leaned into the alcohol, so he's a crazy drunk alcoholic. But even still, he's smart as hell, and of course, kind of helps to come through with some of the stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of the ending, but the series is really good. And if you haven't heard of it, if you haven't seen it, it's just called Spider-Man, which is kind of weird. I was hoping they'd have some sort of different title for it, but it's just called Spider-Man. But it's written by J.J. Abrams and his son Henry Abrams. Very good story, very fun, very emotional, and kind of dark. So, but it's definitely a good read if you haven't checked it out yet. All right, and then the other one I wanted to talk about today, I think I only got a few more minutes. It kind of flies by here. Um, is actually from Image Comics. It is called Homesick Pilots. This is a new one, issue 1, starting just this past week. This the idea behind this is that a punk band wants to put on a show in a haunted house. This is a punk band full of kind of cliche in a way, punk band full of orphan kids. Like they all are from an orphanage, um, or from different orphanage. I think I know at least one of them is an orphan. I'm not 100% sure if they all are though. Either way, it's it's interesting. It's really cool once it starts taking off. It's a little bit slow to kind of get there, but by the end of the first issue, it's really good. It's really um interesting. It's like it seems like it'll be like a cliche kind of story, but the way it goes actually kind of takes a different turn than I was expecting. So it is good. It's a little more here. Let me see if I can get some of the artwork for it is nice. It's kind of a clean, just kind of I don't know how to say it. Clean colors, clean line work. It's all very
No
nice. The
background.
what's that?
There was no background drawing, like stuff in the backgrounds look like.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, some of them can have good like that. It has got yeah, it's got good. It kind of helps draw it out a little bit, like draw out the little fight stuff a little bit better. And then there's good like when they do this. I love when they do stuff like this where it's just all dialogue and no real scenes. And then this was actually super cool. Let me see if I can get it to go long ways so you can see it better. I cannot. So this was kind of cool. This is the first time they go into the house, and you can't see it too well from the picture. But what it does is like they have a competing band that they were trying to fight against, like a battle of the bands type of thing, and this other band comes in the house from the bottom while they're going in from the top. And it's like the way the dialogue works is at the bottom it goes one way, the top it goes the other way, and then they meet in the middle. And it was just really cool. It was an
Hello?
interesting
Okay.
page. It was just really cool. It was an interesting idea. And the story itself is pretty cool. It's just the first issue right now, but it looks like it shows some promise. So again, Homesick Pilots. That one is from Image Comics. If you get a chance, definitely check that one out. Issue 1 just came out this past week. I think with that, I think I'm at about I think I'm about good. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Brian because Brian, you made it sound like yours was gonna be a little bit longer this week, so I figure I'd give you an extra couple minutes out of my time here. So,
Yeah,
Brian.
that's what I was saying. I'm not going to cover. Yeah, I'm not going to cover all of it, but okay. So the basically, I'm going to be talking about how the Enuma Elish. It's called the Genesis of Genesis. So
So I'm listening. Give me
it's
one second.
anywhere
Keep
from
going.
yeah, it's anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 years older than the Bible. It's
Oh
the
shit.
oldest known story in mankind.
Oh
So
shoot.
it was discovered in Mesopotamia, uh, Sumeria, which is modern day Iraq, Turkey, Kuwait. Um, so basically, it just talks about the creation of the world. And the Enuma Elish basically changed into Judeo Christianity and all that stuff. Names
Okay.
change, people change. There's multiple different names for each god. So basically, it starts off like there's similarities. Basically, the story was found on 7 clay tablets, and it's kind of similar to the 7 clay tablets, the 7 days of creation. There was also in the Enuma Elish, there were swirling waters of chaos, just like there is a void, nothing but chaos in Genesis, and there were multiple gods in the Enuma Elish. But it basically starts off with Apsu and Tiamat, which one was salt water, one was fresh water or sweet water, and they come together, they commingle, they created basically everything that not everything they created the world that way. They had kids. Two of their sons
So
were Inkian and
just
Leo.
salt
And
water and
Inkian,
fresh water just kind of yeah,
mm-hmm,
just
and
kind of got
they
freaky.
commingled and turned,
Okay.
yeah, basically
Okay.
started creating things that way.
That was like the gene
They had
pool.
multiple children. Yeah, they had
Okay.
multiple children. Two of them were Inkian and Leo. They basically they're more so prominent than all the other gods, but they're almost like they mirror Jesus and Satan to a point. But
Okay.
in this story, Satan's kind of the good one, which would
Oh.
be Inky. Inky would be the good one. Now he's the one. If you want to think about the Garden of Eden, he gave humanity knowledge. He wanted them to have it because when they started creating humans, and Leo and Inky, and Leo didn't want them to have immortality because they'd be gods just like them. And Leo felt bad about that because, or wait, Inky and Leo. Hold on. Oh yeah, Inky felt bad about it because he knew that they were smart enough that they knew they were going to die, so he felt bad for them. But he would give them knowledge because he wanted them to flourish. Um, so basically, after they started creating all these things, Apsu and Tiamat, the first two, Apsu liked peace and quiet. All the other guys were being noisy and doing all this stuff, so he didn't like that.
Right.
So he basically decided he was going to first he sent pestilence, then he sent a plague, and then he sent
Hmm.
famine, and finally he just decided he was going to flood the whole world to kill everything.
Right.
Now, once he did that, he's like, oh, I kind of feel bad about it. Well, and Leo didn't like the idea either, so Leo took a man, and his name was Tiamashu, and told him to build an ark and put 2 animals of each kind on the ark. That's what the
Okay.
man
So
did.
Noah's Ark, right?
Yes,
Basically. Right.
yeah,
Right. Okay. So it's almost
and
like it's almost like similar to Christianity, Catholic stuff, but it's like told
right,
in a
no,
different way. Like,
yeah,
okay.
it's
Okay.
older than that. It's older
Right.
than
Right.
Christianity,
Or
so
so
they kind of
so you're saying that
it
it
just
kind of
morphed
took they
into
kind of took their
right.
story.
So basically, once that happened, they and Leo was pissed off. He started feeling bad that he killed everything, but then he was pissed off that Inky went ahead and told somebody to, you know, told him what was getting ready to happen. So he focused all his wrath on Inky instead. Um, let's see. They be okay. So yeah, after that, they all started basically. Once Apsu was getting ready to kill everybody, Tiamat told her children told Enlil. Now Enlil basically killed his father in his sleep to keep that from happening. Now Tiamat was so upset that her children would do that, she disowned them, made monsters, demons, and basically sent them to war with each other. So this is basically like, I'm going back. This is the creation of man, how they created man.
Okay.
And basically they all fought. There's multiple gods. They all kind of, one was, his name was Kingu, which was Inky's son. And he basically told all the other gods that if I win this war, I get to be god of all gods. They all agreed. He kills Tiamat, basically his grandmother. When she dies, her tears form the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which is where Iraq is. And they take her body and use it to create man. Now, they created man as a servant class, but they start off with 7 males and 7 females. Well, they started procreating. They were very fertile before they knew it. Thousands of them, and they were outnumbering the gods. And that's when that's when Enlil decided that he was going to flood the whole place and all that stuff. So, like I said, it's very in depth. It's something like, it's all over the place, but it's one of those things where you can't really, I'd have to get in there a little bit more and kind of do step 1, step 2, step 3. But
no, I mean it's very interesting though.
And that's one. It's like one of those things that they don't teach you about it in school, and I think it's the oldest story known to mankind. I think they should kind of teach that to you.
Well, and I mean, unfortunately, in our country, like I know technically this is like you're like a fringe science thing, but like this one is more religious in a way, just because like nobody. I mean, I think our country in general doesn't want to be. I don't know. We tend to not be super open when it comes to religious,
especially
beliefs.
the Middle East.
Yeah, that's right. True. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think it should be taught. I think all that stuff should be taught, though. I think we should have the choice to choose which religion we want to try to follow.
And definitely take up a lot of time, though. That's probably why.
Well, yeah. I mean,
these were. Well, that's basically it for me. I'm gonna have to, like I said, I only did a little bit, but that is one of the things I can always try to make it into another one too, or I can basically focus on each tablet because each tablet's a different story of the
kind of like the
first day, the second day, third day,
like in a way. No, well, no, more like the story, like you said. Yeah.
Sounds pretty badass.
It is interesting, man. That's cool.
I'll get pictures next time. That's funny. This time I didn't do any pictures like I did the last time, but now that we got video, I'll definitely have to get some pictures.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think Matt, you're up. I think we're good.
All right. So today I'm going to start off. I'm going to talk about Star Wars Episode 7 of The Mandalorian. In my opinion, it should be called "He Means More to Me Than You Will Ever Know." And also the Miggs Mayfield story. So Bill Burr's character in this in the show, his name is Miggs Mayfield. I don't know if you remember, he was part of the prison break group that Mando got caught. He comes back in this episode because oh gosh, what's his name from Breaking Bad? What's his character name? He takes I call him Baby Yoda still. Takes Baby Yoda in the previous episode. And so the Mandalorian has to track him down. And the only way to do so is to hack into basically the Empire mainframe. And so he has to go get Miggs Mayfield out of his basically he's in like work detail on a planet for his crimes. He has to break him out. Well, kind of break him out, and he has to take him to hack this mainframe to find out where it's going to drive me crazy.
It was Moff Gideon is the
there
guy.
We go, Moff Gideon. Yeah, where Moff Gideon took Baby Yoda. So there's some really, really great moments in this episode, and then I know how everybody feels about the what's her name coming back? Ahsoka. Yeah, that was a very good episode, and Rosario Dawson did great as her. But that was my favorite episode. This is not my favorite episode because it has some very, very funny moments, and it has some very, very serious moments. One of the funniest moments is where Mandalorian and Miggs Mayfield are trying to get into this computer. And there's a reason why Miggs can't get into it. So the Mandalorian actually has to take his helmet off and to be scanned, which is really, really crazy. But he kind of gets caught up not knowing what to say to this captain who's trying to interrogate or ask him questions. And so Miggs comes in and says, "Hey, have you gotten those TPS reports done? We got to go do those TPS reports." And an obvious reference to Office Space, which is such a classic cult movie. But that was really, really funny, really, really cool. But I really, really enjoyed the fact that there was this humanizing moment of Miggs Mayfield and of the Empire that is actually a callback, in my opinion, to the very first Clerks movie, where Randall and Dante are talking about the Death Star being blown up, and Randall's like, "What about all those innocent contractors?" And Miggs Mayfield kind of hammers that home in this episode, where he becomes very humanized. And he actually, the whole problem that they have with this captain is that Miggs points out that he basically sacrificed 5,000 Imperial foot soldiers and the people on this planet by blowing it up and abandoning it. And Miggs was forever kind of changed at that moment. And you find out that Bill Burr's character, his name's Miggs Mayfield, he has a very human side to him, and he actually is able to use that to kind of build a bond with Mandalorian. And I mean, like I said, it's got all the best parts. It's got great action. Boba Fett comes back. No, he doesn't do very much fighting, but it shows some really cool weaponry on his ship. But in my opinion, it's my favorite episode so far.
I heard he cleans up his suit too.
Yes, yeah. His suit looks pristine, but the weapon that he uses at the end is absolutely amazing. And so the episode ends kind of where I started, with Moff Gideon getting this message, and it's a little animation of the Mandalorian saying, he's coming for Baby Yoda, and that he means more to me than you will ever. Yeah. He's still Baby Yoda to me, but that he means more to me than you will ever know. And it was so awesome watching that right. little interaction, because that what's about to happen is going to be badass.
Right.
So I cannot wait until next Friday's episode. So,
well, in the first season was the same kind of way. It picked up towards the end to where it was just that point where you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, the past couple of episodes have been amazing.
Yeah, this season's been a good season.
It has. I'm also going to talk real quick about a show called Raised by Wolves.
We actually still have plenty of time left, so if you want to take your time on it, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Raised by Wolves, and then I'm actually going to give you kind of a highlight of what I'm working on for this next week, in the next week's episode.
Yeah.
So Raised by Wolves, it's an HBO Max series. It's Ridley Scott directed the first couple episodes, helped executive produce it. And Brian, I don't know about you, but Josh, I know you will know this call out. I'm calling this show the Giant Flying Ass Snake from Dreamcatcher. That's what I'm calling it. And
okay.
Brian, have you seen Dreamcatcher?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how the giant the giant ass snake.
Okay.
With the interaction, with what's his name, Jason Lee. I love Jason. So the reason, so like this show, if you're into Blade Runner, Alien, and those kind of right. Well, and I mean those kind of gritty sci-fi stories, man. This is right up your alley. And actually, Brian, I think this would be I think you would love this series, because it's about basically the end of the world, and you have these two groups that are still alive, and one is the atheists, and one is a religious group, and their names, man, I can't remember their names. That's another one. But this religious group and the atheist, and these two androids have been sent to this planet to repollinate the human race. They have 6 embryos with them. And it's, the first episode basically is really slow at the beginning, and it's about, having these kids grow up. They by the end of the episode, I think they're like 4 or 5. And it's just going through the interactions of, having crops and, learning how to survive and all that stuff. But at the end of it, that's when it starts getting crazy. And then from then on, it's massively nuts.
Oh, because I actually watched the first episode and I got maybe a little more than halfway through it.
And it sucked.
It was sitting here like,
it sucked.
It wasn't bad.
No,
it wasn't bad.
No,
it's just
it sucked.
No, it really wasn't bad. I was actually enjoying it. It's just the fact that
it's so slow.
Time, it was very slow. And at that time, I was just kind of like, okay, we're watching these kids grow up. We're watching, and I don't want to spoil too much, but like, I know at least a couple of them die, don't they?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
But like, and I remember just watching that, like, okay, like not to be rude, but when is something gonna happen? Like,
right. I was in that same boat, but because of it being Ridley Scott, I was like, all right, I'm gonna let it go. And then, dude, the ending of the first episode, you're like, what just happened? Okay. And then from there on, it is just an absolute mind blow.
Yeah. So this is Ridley Scott?
Yeah. Well, okay. So like he executive produced it. He directed the first 2 episodes, and I think the last 2. He helped. I don't know if he helped write it.
Favreau directs the first episode of Mandalorian.
Yeah, but I mean, it is nuts. Like, when you think you have figured part of it out, it just goes off another way. So, I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that you find out that the human race actually started on this planet, and that's
giving some away right there.
Well, that's not giving a whole lot away, trust me, because you watch it and you'll be like, God, Matt, you didn't really give very much away. Holy shit!
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's nuts. But it's definitely a good show.
From that first episode, you can totally feel that it's Ridley Scott.
Yes,
100%.
Yes,
right. That Prometheus, not so much Alien, more of like Prometheus.
Feel. Yes, it definitely has that Prometheus feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't talk too much about it in case you guys are interested in watching it.
I'm definitely going to check it out, especially if it gets crazier from where I was watching it. Yeah,
it gets way crazier.
I was just kind of like,
the first episode is very slow. It is extremely slow. But after that, man, by the end of the first episode, all the way through the end of the first season, you have no idea what's going on. Right. Like it's just nuts. So
I felt that way. I don't know if either of you have seen Lovecraft Country, but I felt that.
I've not yet.
I want to.
That's like that in the sense of every episode something wildly left field happens, and you're just like, wait, okay, cool. I mean,
And I was going to start either Raised by Wolves or Lovecraft, and I decided to do Raised by Wolves. So I'm going to start Lovecraft soon too. But actually, I'm also started I've got 2 books that I'm reading right now. And I know I should have just stuck with one, but I couldn't help myself. So the first book is Fire and Blood for Game of Thrones, and I'm going to talk about that. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. I am too. I'm going to talk about that next week. But the other thing I'm going to talk about next week too, hopefully I have enough time, because Fire and Blood is 35 hours long audiobook. I've got like 7 hours left. I'm also excited because I got Ready Player 2, which just came out in November, the book for that. And I just started that, and Will Wheaton is actually doing the audiobook of it. So I've started it. So I'm only probably about 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm only about 20 minutes into it, but it's a really good story so far too. And Ready Player One is one of my favorite newer movies. So that's what I'm going to talk about next week is Fire and Blood and Ready Player 2.
Okay. Well, I mean, unless we have anything else to talk about, this is actually going to be a little bit shorter of an episode, which is that's fine. Usually try to keep it closer to an hour. Looks like today it's going to be more like 45 minutes or so, which is fine.
Mhm.
Next week we'll try to pack in a little more stuff. I was just kind of blown away by that Spider-Man series. It was surprisingly good. You have
Okay, so,
Ben Parker, his Peter's son, being the next Spider-Man. You get to
so
see
it's
like
genetic. He
apparently, which is weird too, because there is the one thing I will say that I wasn't. They went back to the webs being like organic, like it came out of
okay,
him, rather than
okay,
because he was just like, wait, what the hell? Oh shoot,
right,
and then
Well, I mean, that would explain how he couldn't, like, how he wouldn't know what the hell's going on, kind of things.
right, and no, I mean that's a very very small complaint in an otherwise great story. It really is good.
Well, how the Avengers die? Did they explain any of that?
They kind of don't. It's just Tony. I mean, I don't know if it was all related to the villain, because like it starts with like the
Cadaverous.
whole city is just destroyed, and Peter's fighting him, and he's like losing. He's losing really bad. And what's crazy too is then they don't even really tackle what happened. Like, I mean, it just kind of it shows MJ die, flashes to a few days later at her funeral, and then it cuts to 12 years later, and it's kind of like, okay, well then how did he beat him? What happened? Like,
Right.
but that's again, it's like a small complaint in an otherwise great story.
Well, what's Peter up to?
So Peter he refuses to let Ben get into that life. So
Hmm.
he just up and leaves. He takes on he goes to the Bugle and tells them that he wants to do any assignment that's around the world, so that he'll constantly have to be traveling, so he won't be at home. He kind of it's one of those things, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's one of those things where you think he's doing it for selfish reasons because he just doesn't want
Right.
to, but then you find out that it's actually for a good reason, that he's
Okay.
kind of bailing on him. I mean, it still sucks that Ben didn't grow up with him, of course, but like
Right. Yeah. Deadbeat dad.
right, and that's what I mean. It kind of looks that way for a while, and then you get closer to the end, you're like, oh, okay. Um,
Hey, Josh,
what's
I'm
up?
going to show you something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to give anything away. This is Raised by Wolves. Okay, so there's a mother and a father.
So I will spoil that,
Androids.
Brian. They're androids. They're not. I mean, I don't know if you said that. You did say that, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
they're
yeah.
Yeah.
androids.
Yeah. No, he
They're
did.
not
Yeah.
people. So it's like, but it's crazy because when and I'm gonna again spoil that a little bit. When one of them dies, she starts acting like the mom android is all like, my baby. I don't my baby.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh
Well,
shit.
that's where I was about to show you. So,
Okay.
okay, so yeah, she definitely becomes motherly.
Yeah.
But I will say that this is actually her alternate form, Josh. She is a necromancer.
Oh shit.
Um, and so she was actually a war model that the atheists created to defeat the religious zealots. So
A
like
lot of religious stuff going on this
like there is, but like there is it like just do me a favor and finish that first
Yeah, no,
episode.
I definitely will. I
Yeah,
definitely will because I was very iffy on it, and it looked great, and all the previews looked great, and I was watching that first
Ridley
one. Just
Scott.
yeah, I was just watching that first one, like okay, and again, it was good. I just
Yeah,
okay,
do
pick
something.
up a
Do
little
something.
bit, so
Come on,
just something,
come
and
on.
I don't mean to sound like that guy because I don't mean to sound like I was just bored
No,
because but it was kind of
yeah,
boring,
it
like
was just like, okay, this story's been told before. A mom and a dad
right,
are trying to survive androids, but mom and dad
right.
are trying to rebuild the human race.
The
Let's,
last thing
and it
I
just,
remember was that she was looking down that big old crater hole,
mhm.
and I think she was going to go down into it or something. That was the last thing I
So wait,
something
so
to that effect.
that dad died? You know that the dad died.
Yeah,
I thought you
I
said
don't.
one
I
of the
don't.
parents died.
No, one of the. I remember the kids dying. Like I
Oh,
remember,
okay, okay,
and
okay.
again, not to spoil it, but I remember more than one of them died.
Did yeah.
Yeah.
It's well. So basically, I'll
Well,
tell you that it's
and it's cool.
a new planet. They don't have an immunity to like
Right. I was about to say, and it's cool because you get to see
diseases and
that. You
stuff.
get to see that some of the kids develop the like immunity to keep surviving, and some of them are just kind of like, yeah, this planet, So
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah.
So can I just so the whole reason why, Josh, I call it the giant flying ass snake from Dreamcatcher. So watching
Is
what
that what's down in that crater that I remember
who,
seeing?
no,
No,
but
okay.
watching what you've watched of that first episode, would you have any inkling of what that meant?
Just that there's gonna be a giant fucking like
Flying
Dune,
ass snake.
like a Dune style snake. Like that's
When you
I
see,
picture
okay,
Dune and just a big fucking thing coming
when
out.
you see this thing, it
Yeah,
looks just like in
yeah.
same size as that ass snake from Dreamcatcher. I'm telling you.
And that
So
scene, it's crazy because that scene was so funny and then so depressing. Like
yeah,
that scene from Dreamcatcher. Um, all right, well, I mean, I guess if that's it, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off then. We'll be on again next week. We'll definitely do. We'll try to stretch it. We actually got a little bit of extra time in there, but we'll try and stretch it out a little more. I'll come with a little more stuff next time. And
oh,
Brian,
I'll
yeah,
have
I
definitely.
will too. I'll
plenty.
actually
And
have more
Well,
pictures.
I was about to say, and Brian, yeah, bring some pictures and maybe a little.
I could keep talking about Raised by Wolves, but it sounds
Dude,
like
and
you actually want to watch it, so I don't want to give too
I
much
do,
away.
and
Dude.
I know that I've got some other comics I could have probably talked about, but
And trust me, I could talk about Fire and Blood
yeah,
for
oh yeah,
35
dude, I'm
hours.
super
So
excited for that. And
I am
I've
too,
mentioned
man.
this to you when we talked, Matt. Is I think people tend to forget that that show, Game of Thrones, regardless of the last season, some may say the last two seasons, but really it was just the last season. Um,
Hmm.
that regardless of that, the show was epic. The show was
Yeah.
Always.
phenomenal,
Yeah.
and I mean,
They
even the
needed
way
George R. Martin though.
and that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. Once they strayed, it did dip, and of course that last season, everybody. It's funny. It's one of those things where I actually enjoyed it. I know Matt,
Me
you
too.
enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
And you can tell though that
Could it have been
it
longer?
rushed.
Absolutely. But
Yeah, of
Hell yeah, it
course.
should have been.
Yep. I think the biggest thing, honestly, was that. I honestly just thought if they had taken it the same idea, but just fleshed it out to a few more episodes, I think
yeah.
they would have done a lot better.
Well, and you could tell that they were ready to move on. The
Right.
dumbass and
With
dumbass
their
bigger
Star
Yeah, they
Wars movie
screwed
that they
Yeah.
themselves
didn't get to
pretty
make.
good.
DB dumbasses.
Twice, yeah, they fucked themselves over.
That
Right.
you listen.
But
If you've ever have you ever listened to them talk after the episodes? It's like pulling teeth. Like you're like, you guys are idiots. Oh my god. How did you help create this great show? You guys are fucking
dude,
morons.
but again though,
So
people tend to forget just how amazing
yeah,
the show was up to that
and
point.
right, and they have a whole. And I know it's only one book, but there is so much
Right.
information. They could
Right.
have easily 5 to 10 seasons from just this one book. And he also has some other prequel books in there too.
Right. Well, and I'd be
The
willing to bet
night in
he's going to
the night in
continue
the
it or something.
yeah, well, there's I think it's
Night
called a
King.
well, no, but there's like a night in the seven realms or something like that. That's another one of his books.
Right.
I mean, there's two more prequel books
I
including
heard
this,
that.
but
Yeah.
the Fire and Blood book is so massive and there's so much there. They can get so much out of that. So I'm excited for
Right.
it.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Is, yeah, I'm still super excited for the new show that's going to come out, and I think anybody
Yeah.
who says they're not just tends to forget how good the show was. Up until the
Right.
finale.
They yeah.
So, okay. All right. Let's go ahead and check out. Once again, I'm Josh. That's Brian. That's Matt. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching, whichever way you're checking us out. Be sure to hit us up next week when we put out the new episode. All right. Later.